All right, and we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog back with breakdown number 1 for the week. One of, I believe, 4. Bellator 276 is the lucky first breakdown of the week. I'm here with Lewis of Norton MMA, fresh off of an MMA show with Dan Hardy. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I'm buzzing about that. So, that, when you talk to your idol for an hour and you get to make some good quality videos and you agree on a lot of stuff, and I'm going to be seeing him next week as well. So I'm buzzing, man.
Yeah, man. So again, we'll put in the description after this, but go check out Norton MMA, the MMA show, I believe 23, with Dan Hardy. But yeah, they get to talk for a good hour plus about UFC London, 1X, many other discussions, really good combat information over there. Check that out after this. But we're here for the first breakdown of the week. We've got a Bellator this week. We've got the PFL Challenger Series continuing. We've got the UFC and an LFA. All 4 will be on the channel. LFA coming tomorrow, immediately following the UFC breakdown with Lewis and Josh at 3 p.m. tomorrow. But Bellator 276, Borics and Burnell is the headliner. It's a very solid main card. Honestly, this is one of the weaker preliminary cards I can remember from Bellator in quite some time, though, if I'm being honest, which we've kind of been hinting at the last couple Bellators. I mean, they are doing many more events than they usually do. But, yeah, this is, I dare to say, a pretty cut and dry Bellator. What were your kind of thoughts on it?
I think there's definitely some good matchups, especially the main and co-main. I'm a massive Burnell fan.
Yes, me too.
I think he unfairly got cut from the UFC at one point. He's only lost 3 times in his career, and when he came back to the regional scene, like he came back to Cage Warriors after being cut from the UFC, you saw the level he's at. He's just way above anyone there. I think it was just a harsh thing. You've got good up and comers like Johnny Eblin and JJ Wilson as well. Alex Palisi's on here. He's always a Bellator favorite. So there's definitely some good names on here as well.
Yeah, and then Davis's wrestling is pretty top notch in Bellator. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few good wrestlers, honestly, in Bellator. They do a pretty good job for the most part. And I think that Phil Davis is using his, we'll get into that breakdown, obviously, later in the show. But yeah, I would say Phil Davis is using his stand-up much more than he used to, for better or for worse. I mean, I kind of always think he doesn't use his wrestling enough, but maybe that's because the rest of his game is so far behind that I just think, why would you go to anything else? But we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's kind of crazy. Phil Davis he's getting closer and closer to 40 now. It's just like, I remember when it was Phil Davis and John Jones. Those were like the 2 guys at the 205 division, like Ryan Bader, a couple other people. Then it was like, those are the guys who are going to be fighting over the UFC division for the next decade.
Yeah, when he beat Gustafsson, that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they trained together.
Yep, exactly. So, but otherwise, yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of the minus 800s, a lot of minus 600s, minus 1400 I'm seeing on here for a guy who I've yet to be able to bet under 1,000. We'll talk about him in a minute. Couple late cancellations also, so that's always fun. James Augustine, who's one of the 2 from St. Cloud MMA, along with Julius Anglickas. James Augustine has a new opponent now. It is no longer Dan Bush. I watched 5 Dan Bush fights for no reason. That's always tough.
Not no reason. Dan Bush will be back on another card. And you won't.
Yeah, he is 4-1 somehow, and he has a Bush Light tattoo. And I was getting very, very excited to pick James Augustine in that matchup. So now James Augustine has a new matchup. That's actually a pretty good segue, as they call it. We're going to start with that late notice matchups between James Augustine and the 8-11 Josh Weston. Didn't do Josh Weston tape. This is at 170. Yeah, Josh Weston, he's 8-11. He's 40 years old. He's taking this fight on 4 days' notice. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. He did fight this year, so there's that. 5'8". 1981, he was born in almost the 70s guy. We got on the card here to open up. Lost to a 3-5 opponent in his last fight out. Got rear naked choked. Faced Bobby Volker and Jason High. Bobby Volker knocked him out nearly inside of a minute, and then Jason Hine knocked him out in the second round. So for the most part, goes to a decision. Most of the time, do not recognize any of the guys he's beaten. He did face Kyle Kruchmer early on in his career, going to a decision with him, who he's a good wrestler. He's been choked out by Rudy Bears, a 15-13 guy. I mean, pretty salty record here. I give him credit. He did fight in this year against a 3-5 opponent. He lost to him in about 2 minutes. So Josh Augustine, I've really liked what I've seen out of this guy. I may have said James Augustine, apologize there, but it is Josh Augustine. Again, St. Charles MMA, same as Julius Anglickas, fighting later on the card. Julius has a lot of really good things to say about Josh. 6'1", 74-inch reach, nice frame for the welterweight division, has a really good rear body kick he's finished a couple fights with. Faced a lot of adversity over the last couple of years, including now, the change in opponent here. His losses to pretty high-level guys in Muhammad John Naimov, who's a very good fighter, actually did break his leg in that fight. Leg kick ended up breaking Josh's leg, so did take some time off. And then Ty Clark, a good LFA fighter. It was a good back-and-forth fight. It was a close fight, but came up on the short end. Good power with the punches, and like I said, good body kick. Finished it off with the ground and pound against Thomas Thatcher in January. Also fought with Shamrock. So, I mean, Josh Augustine takes this one all day long. I think it's going to be a very, very high odds for Josh. So definitely not in a rush to bet it with him coming off an injury. Had some adversity losing his father last year before a fight. Also that he was going to take. So definitely coming into this fight, I think, with a lot of baggage, but I think he's going to come and look very good, especially against an opponent like Josh Weston on very short notice. So it's Augustine here. It's going to be a -800 or probably more for a 5-2 fighter.
Yeah, this is Josh Weston is here for a paycheck, and Josh Augustine is going to get a highlight reel finish for his resume.
Yep.
So there's not much to say on it, unfortunately. I have seen one of Josh Weston's fights, and it's not great watching. I think 90% of amateur fighters right now fight like he does. That's the honest truth. People that have no experience, he looks very lackluster. Josh Augustine, from what I've seen of him, and again, from what I've heard from other people, that's kind of how his MMA career's got a little bit of notice, is through word of mouth. He's got the skills. I hate -800 odds, but it's probably correct.
It's -400 actually here. So
okay.
I definitely think that you should parlay that straight up. Yeah. That can be parlayable. Don't overcommit to it, obviously, with the Augustine coming off the injury, but -400, that's going to get steamed. It's going to be double that.
What was the injury?
It was for Augustine. It was a leg, broke his leg. I think it was his fibula, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
yeah,
it was
in the fight. It was in the fight with Naimov as well. And then shout out to UFC Betting Experience, giving Lewis some love. Nice breakdown with Hardy Norton just finished.
Oh, cheers, man.
Definitely check it out. But yeah, good stuff. -400, I like that price, and I expect it to skyrocket there for Augustine. Quite surprised that on 8-11 Weston, with quite a bit of tape out there available. So I think Augustine should be prepared for the fight as well. So that's going to do it for that fight. Moving on to the bantamweight division now. This is a interesting fight. It is definitely not. There's definitely not a future contender here necessarily. In Jordan Howard and Trevor Ward. This fight being at 135. Jordan Howard has been in Bellator a few times, to nearly 32-year-olds though. Trevor Ward, 6'11", last fought at flyweight, so very long, lengthy flyweight for sure. This fight is at 135. Trevor is 5-5 though. Lost his last fight out. Has not fought since September of 2018 with LFA. Losing to a 9-0 Ryan McDonald. Went to the second round. Pretty much from start to finish, Ryan really overwhelmed him. For the most part, when he takes that step up, whether it's Kendrick Latchman, put him away in the third round. pretty dominant performance there. Another Shamrock representative here. Jared Brooks, he went to a decision with back in 2015. He's been pretty inactive, though. He's been around. He's still only 31 years old. Has not beaten anybody of particular note. Mostly a grappler. Does have a finish with a head kick as well. He's faced a good level of competition. He just hasn't beat those guys. And Ishii Watari, Jared Brooks, Latchman, and McDonald. None of those are really shameful losses at all. He just doesn't exactly have those marquee wins either. Jordan Howard, I wouldn't rank him better than 3 of the 4 losses that Ward has that I'm familiar with, though. And he's also on a 2-fight losing streak. He hasn't fought since April of 2018. So both these guys coming off a very long layoff. He was in boxing last year, won 2 decisions with boxing. Definitely more of a stand-up fighter. Has had the big KO in his Bellator debut. Looked really good there over an undefeated fighter. Brandon Phillips ended up 30-26ing him in their fight, just completely outclassed. And Brandon Phillips, very good fighter, but not a guy who should beat you by decision, not a 30-26 decision. That's a little bit of a concern for me. I think that there's just a lot of unknowns in this fight. On the feet, I like Jordan Howard by quite a wide margin, but I do not know enough about the grappling, the overall game of Howard. Both guys have been off for 3 years. For me, from a betting perspective, it's dog or pass. I'll take Howard by decision, but I am not confident in this one. I don't really know how either guy's going to look since they haven't fought since 2018, and I do think that the length of Ward could be an advantage, but not enough for me to go with him. But these odds are pretty wide. I'm not confident in Howard, but I will take by decision.
It's a really strange fight to make, isn't it, this one? 2 guys super inactive. Not greatest records. Trevor Ward's record is shaky, and every time he faces a little bit of adversity, he kind of shows his belly and just gives up. And that's what you found in the last few fights. Every time he got touched once, he just rolled over. Every time he got out grappled, he kind of just, I'm done.
Yep.
If it's not going his way, he rolls over. And from what I've seen, Jordan Howard just has a little more to him. He doesn't give up. He might get outclassed, but at least he hangs in there. So I think Jordan Howard's the smart pick. I would never bet it because
minus 400. Minus 400.
There's so many
Howard.
Variables. You don't know if Jordan Howard's coming into this. Like, why?
And I couldn't find why he was off for 3 years either.
Exactly. Is he getting better? You don't not take a fight for 3 years if you're just getting better.
And he's 32. It's not like younger in your career where you kind of see.
He just missed his prime.
He missed his prime. Yeah.
So I mean, stay away from this one. I would, from a betting perspective, but Jordan Howard, I would take.
Same as Augustine. I'm kind of surprised here. Minus 400 plus 300 on Ward. Dog or pass for me. Most likely though, it would just be a pass. I mean, he really made Brandon Phillips look so good though. It was crazy watching that fight. I mean, Brandon Phillips he looked like he was untouchable prospect, and it was just when you
make him look like Brandon Royval.
30-28 of Brandon Phillips is always kind of surprising, or 30-26, I should say. Next fight, this is, I think, the first decently competitive fight of the night. Very, very exciting prospect, Roman Feraldo, taking on guy from my neck of the woods in Michigan, Mr. Kelvin Rayford. LFA is where I'm familiar with Rayford from, but I think it's going to be this is going to be a decent fight. I think that Roman is in for much more of a test than he's been in for his last few. I don't think he's going to be able to call his shot and do it in this fight, at least. But we'll see. Maybe I'm giving Kelvin Rayford too much credit. He is 5-3. Next level is the nickname. Hasn't fought since April of 2021. He's 36 years old now. Good size for the division at 6'3". Now fighting out of Oklahoma. I lost to Chris Brown. Chris Brown's been on a bit of a rollover with LFA. Very good creative striker. Trains with Jackson Winklejohn. Very good camp. Comes in really prepared. And honestly, it's a much more competitive fight with Chris Brown than Chris Brown was expecting than the odds maker. Defensively, Kelvin is very good. It's the offense that I think he has a little bit of trouble blending with the defense. and that's my concern in this fight. I think that one direction I'm leaning slightly with Kelvin is that I do think he has a decent chance of surviving to the decision. I'm just not sure he's going to have the offense needed in this fight. He has a win over Clarence Brown. If you know about the regional scene, you know that you should be able to submit Clarence Brown. He's 1-6, 1-7, been submitted 7 times. Edward Martinez, good to see you. Boston comments, happy International Women's Day to you, Bunny. What's going on? Great to have you here. And then Visceral was asking about the Hardy interviews to you.
As in, like the main MMA show is live on the channel, the 48-minute one, and then I'm clipping up the fights we talk about, and the Rod Tang one is also live now.
Yeah, but if everybody watching can go over to Norton MMA, click on the video, leave a comment, at least leave a like, and then please listen to it too. But if you can all do that at some point, would much appreciate it. It's pretty awesome for Lewis to get to talk to a hero it is. I know how cool that is. But with Kelvin Rayford, done a decent job of finding some okay opponents. Obviously, the Chris Brown, and the other one that I point to is the Matt Dixon fight. It was Matt Dixon's debut. Matt Dixon, very, very good wrestler, very good at the submissions and everything. I think that's a good fight. Not how he's going to be tested here against Roman Feraldo. The Roman Feraldo is very exciting. Highlight machine. Saw in his last fight against Turnquest him literally call the knee before running at him and throwing it. Kind of lets you know the level of competition Roman has faced so far, but you got to look good against that competition, and he has looked very good. 6-0 now. I think this is going to be a much bigger test, but 12 straight wins going back to November of 2021, where he got that win over Turnquist. Before that, the Trevor Good fight. I'll admit right now, I remember in the Trevor Good fight doing the breakdown. I think I did it with you, and I gave Trevor Good a good chance in that one. Roman just completely broke that frame right away, put him away. I mean, when he gets his hands on these guys, I mean, it's good night. I said that the grappling was going to be an issue. We didn't get to find it out because Roman just completely broke Trevor Good there in that fight. So not one of my better reads there, but you see it. KOs, doctor stoppages, got the 2 flying knee finishes of Casey and Turnquest. The win over Good. I mean, so far it seems that he's a finishing machine, both as an amateur and as a pro. 1 decision in 12 fights. I do think Kelvin is going to come into this fight, and if he looks kind of as sharp as he did against Chris Brown, there's a chance he can survive, but Feraldo's going to put it on him. And I mean, until he doesn't get the finish, I don't think we can really say that against this level of competition. So all that talk for me to pick Roman Feraldo by KO.
Yeah, I think there's not as much analysis for me in this one, as in it's written on paper, it's written with your eyes. Like, Roman Feraldo's going to run through him as well. They are just not on the same level to me. Yeah. Yes, Kelvin has more fights, if that's what, more experience. No, Roman's just he's a future contender. He's absolutely going to just run through Kelvin any way he wants to win this fight. I don't see Kelvin surviving at all, to be honest with you. Yeah. I like Roman Feraldo as well. The way he called that knee in the last fight makes you automatically a fan. If you're not a fan of him from that, you're not an MMA fan, surely.
And Turnquest had a lot of experience. He was 10-7.
Turnquest's not bad, man. Turnquest is not a bad mixed martial artist.
He made him look much worse than he was in, the 17 fights.
He's made everybody look.
Or he had 18 fights. Yeah, he made Pat Casey look really bad as well. I think that Roman could be the real deal. We're obviously going to have to pay for it here. -800, +550 on Kelvin Rayford.
But these are the fights you're going to get in the welterweight other end of the division in Bellator. Yeah. These are the fights that you have to win.
Yeah. No,
this is beating the unranked opponents in the UFC standard.
Yeah, and it would be quite a statement for Roman to get the finish after Chris Brown, who has been doing really well over with LFA. He wasn't able to get the finish and laid quite a bit on him. So it would be a statement there. Always excited. I think that the days of Roman Feraldo being on a prelim are maybe 1 2 more fights maybe before we're seeing him on main cards really getting pushed like the JJ Wilsons of the world and whatnot. But next fight is at 145. Yeah, next fight's at 145. One of my favorite prospects in all of MMA here. If he can just get a fucking fighter to stay at fight camp. This was supposed to be Johnny Soto versus Cody Law. Cody Law would have been an awesome opportunity for Cody Law to finally get a real statement win. Johnny Soto pulled out of the fight. Johnny Soto, not a fan of him at all. I don't like him. Maybe it's because I picked against him and they missed weight and eked out a win. So like I'm just gonna forever hold it against him. But yeah. I just think that was a really good opportunity. I do like James Adcock though. I respect James Adcock. I've gotten to watch almost all of his fights while researching other fighters at different points. It's kind of interesting. Donnie Ballou was the first time I came across James Adcock watching Donnie Ballou in preparation for one of his fights where I picked Donnie Ballou and Donnie Ballou lost. I can't remember who it was. Tuba was in Bellator, so not one of my better picks there. But yeah, James Adcock, 7-4, 33 years old for the Knoxville Martial Arts representative, taking on Cody Law, the prospect at 145. I really do think he can make a run. 26 years old, turns 27 next in 2 weeks out of Philadelphia. Very, very good fighter here. Just 1 second. And he's out of ATT and a few other places, but he's been on ATT for quite a while now. Legit prospect, 10 straight wins, going back to his amateur career, 5 straight as a pro. He's a wrestler. He is a pure wrestler, Matt Factory Wrestling Club. He also gets his work done at. You can see ground and pound. Got the punch finish of Makuka. He's been really trying to kind of stretch out his game, but it's once he gets into the ground, it's going to be where it stays for the rest of the round, regardless of who he's seeming to take on right now. Good ground and pound, really does a good job to get to that arm triangle position, puts a lot of heavy pressure on. Finisher in pretty much every sense of the word. Has not had any sort of adversity so far. He has faced a pretty low level of competition so far. Colton Ham, not very good, also knocked out by Josh Augustine. Kenny Champion looked like he could be a decent guy, but only 2-0. Nathan Gaharib, overwhelmed, and Theo Makuka not looking great in his next round. So that is the question here with Cody Law, is that level. But, James Adcock will be the most experienced fighter he's taken on. And Johnny Soto getting pulled out of the card, I don't think James Adcock is the easiest of replacement opponents at all. I think it's actually a pretty decent one, especially compared to like the Josh Weston we saw earlier on the card. He is coming off a win of Cody Shelton. Cody Shelton was 1-1 at the time. It was for a championship, though. Cody Shelton got James down quite a few times, took him down, was on top of him. James had to get some sweeps that just aren't going to work against Cody Law. James gets taken down most of his fights by obviously lesser wrestlers. This is not rocket science, and the price is insane. Cody Law is going to dominate. I think he'll finish. Probably submission, I'll say. Cody Law by submission.
I think this is the easiest pick of the night for me. Cody Law is going to just absolutely bully him. When you've got people with this experience and they've got that high level wrestling, there is no. Is that the odds? Jesus Christ! Yeah, I actually.
That's like every Cody Law fight is minus 1,500. Yeah. It's insane. It's going to be minus 2,000.
He's got elite level wrestling, man, and he's fighting people that literally look at who he's beaten.
Right.
Between that, in those 5 fights, they have 3 wins between them, and how many losses? You know.
And like Nathan Gaharib just looked completely lost out there too.
Yeah,
he looked like a bantamweight too. He's taking on a couple smaller featherweights also. Not that he's the biggest featherweight, but Cody Law. It's just add him if you're betting on the entire card. Like you might as well just stick him on because he'll boost you by 0.1. I guess on a 12 fight parlay he would, yes. Yeah,
So,
minus 800. I'd love
Cody
to
Lawson's
tell you.
steamrolling, man. Steamrolling.
Yeah. Like he'd have to.
One round.
I honestly think Adcock would have to win by injury to win this fight. So like, I
He
just
might
don't
need
think
a rifle.
I don't think plus 800 is enough to get the injury price. I mean,
No.
I did bet plus 1,000 Brian Kelleher inside the distance last weekend just for fun. Not a lot, but
After I told you.
I was like, you know what, dude? It's $20. It's $20. I've wasted $20 at the bar so many nights. I could waste $20 on half a round of Brian Kelleher against Umar Nurmagomedov. I still feel it was a better decision than betting on Carlston Harris against Shavkat. So I'm getting better at throwing away my money. I do. I would still bet Brian Kelleher over Carlston Harris again. Good Lord, that was bad. Yeah, Cody Law here, minus 1,400. I mean, he's going to get tested at some point. I just don't think that James Adcock is the point that we see
that
the
division
test
isn't very deep either, is it? The featherweight division.
He's good. I mean, and I would be interested to see him against some of those upper echelon guys at 145 because I do think he has a style that's going to give most of that division a problem. So
yeah, wrestlers at featherweight are a real issue.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like the champion obviously would be a tough fight, but I also think like that's within the realm of possibilities in a couple of years of seeing Cody Law take on AJ McKee. And I think it would be pretty competitive, to be honest with you. But once he's ready, I don't think tomorrow he's ready, but he's not Kazmat Chimaev. Next fight is at 125 pounds. Diana Pova, or Diana, as I'll call her, taking on Ashley Dean. Ashley Dean, she's been around for a long time. And not that long, I guess. She's only, 5 and 6? So she hasn't been around that long, but she's definitely a fighter I'm familiar with by researching other fighters. I don't often have to research Ashley Dean fights, so there's that. But she's 5 and 6. Salty as they come. 32 years old, fighting out Pariah MMA and Fitness. Last fought in March of last year. Went under 500 with a loss there with CFFC. I mean, she's a gamer. You got to be 5 and 6 and still going. Lost to Jasmine Jazardovicius in her last fight with CFFC. Jasmine now with the UFC, so not the worst of losses there. The wins have come against who's who, like Selena Rowland, Taylor Turner. Never heard of either one of those ladies. Was pretty, inactive, 1 fight a year, 2017, 3 in 2018, but she lost, or 4 in 2018, including a kickboxing and boxing fight. She only won the boxing fight. Got knocked out by Julia Avila. Been knocked out in two of her losses, went to decision the other, or 3 of her losses went to decision the other 3. She's a scrapper. She's going to get in there and, try to mix it up, I guess, but she's going to lose to most girls who are better than her. Diana is absolutely legit. Seems to be getting much better. Her stand-up, she seems to be gaining a lot of confidence in. This does seem like a fight where if she needs to, she'll go to wrestling in Diana. But I'd expect her to test out her stand-up a little more here. Dean's pretty hittable. Diana showed in her last, couple fights that she's looking to test it more. She did go to split in her last fight after that really good 30-second win of Tara Graf. So not positive how great Diana is, but we do know kind of how bad Dean is. Diana is not the one who beat the man in MMA. The one who, I can't think of her name, but she's German or something, not Russian. You're thinking of someone else, Visceral. But y'all take Diana in this fight. Ashley Dean going to have the most experience of anybody she's taken on. Ashley Dean can definitely eke out a gross sort of decision here. Diana has shown she has some lapses, particularly on the feet and just putting together the whole game, as that last fight showed. A 2-2 opponent took her to a split. I am not rushing to the ticket window to bet minus 650 Diana, but I do think that she wins this fight, but I'm going to pass on it from a betting perspective. I'll take Deanna, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you bet on this fight, you're a brave individual. This is because it's one of those fights you don't know how good Deanna is. Padded record, she hasn't fought anyone. She's fought someone that's 4 opponents, and they've got 3 wins together.
And she struggled with a 2-2 opponent in her last fight.
Bad, like really badly. One's a quick finish as well. So I know Ashley Dean isn't great, but she's tough.
She's been in there with very good fighters. Better fighters than Deanna.
And do you know what? I'm thinking, maybe she can just knock something up here and derail a marketable hype train in a sense where you got a female Russian, which is rare.
Yep.
I'm gonna side with Dean in this. Not because she's great by any means, but because she's tough. And she might be able to put a little pressure on, might be able to cut the angles, might be able to just, press your head against the chest.
Speed up the thinking of Deanna a little bit.
Yeah. I really do.
Yeah.
I think Deanna might be a little padded here. She's not convinced me at all.
Plus 450 on Dean, I don't think it's a bad shot at all. Minus 650 on Deanna is crazy to me. And I think that people forget she had a fight since the fight where she beat the girl who got beat by Valerie Laredo. So how good is Tara Graf? Waiting for that top 10 Valerie Laredo to make her return to Bellator. I believe she's number 9 now that Hannah Guy did not get re-signed with Bellator because Bellator going Bellator.
I don't think she beats anybody in that top 10.
I mean, Valerie Laredo, man, unbelievably bad fighter, fun to bet against.
Put her in against Joanna.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But next fight here is I believe a heavyweight matchup between Romero Cotton and Freddie Sandoval. Freddie Sandoval taking this fight at short notice. No, not heavyweight. I'm sorry, middleweight.
Middleweight.
Yeah,
okay.
No, sorry. My fault. No, middleweight. Between Romero Cotton, the wrestler. Taking on Freddie Sandoval. This is at middleweight. 5 and 6. Freddie Sandoval, back-to-back 5 and 6 is making their appearance on the Bellator prelims. Great work there, Bellator. Freddie Sandoval. He's 5 and 6. What can I really say here? He last fought in, if I'm reading this correctly, September of 2009 against. At King of the Cage, where he lost. And he has not fought since 2009. He has a win over Drew Fickett. That is a name I haven't thought about in a long time. But, hey, that's an impressive win back in 2009. Drew Fickett was a thing at one point. I mean, you're not going to recognize the wins, the losses. Most of his fights in New Mexico, in King of the Cage. Romero Cotton needed an opponent, and I guess Freddie Sandoval said, I can do it. Romero Cotton, middleweight, as I said, out of Kansas, hasn't fought since 2020. He's been off for a while, since December of 2020. Wrestled at Nebraska at Kearney, a good wrestling school for sure. Beat Justin Sumter in that fight. Rear naked choked him. Was on a good path, looking good, mostly taking the fights to the ground. Didn't have the win with the knees, but mostly takes fights to the ground and pushes the pace in that way. All his fights are with Bellator. He had the fight with Rosta that was set up for January. Pulled out of that. I'm not sure exactly why, but pretty disappointing. That would have been quite a test for him. And then had Lance Wright set up for this upcoming weekend. Lance Wright pulled out of the fight. They got Sandoval on short notice. Romero Cotton's going to do work, I guess, but it's now time for Romero Cotton to start to, take the next step up. Justin Sumter kind of was a good indication there. I think that, not sure what the holdup was. I believe it was injuries, but I'm not positive. Definitely a little bit concerning when you see him pull out of a fight in January. He's back here, but Sandoval's 5 and 6, hasn't fought since 2009. Cotton wins this fight. Minus 1,200 is stupid.
Yeah, you don't know. Ignore anything you've ever seen about Sandoval because it's been 13 years.
Over a decade, yeah.
it's not going to be the same human. He's going to look completely different. He's going to fight completely different. He's going to weigh
new tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, we have no idea who's coming in against Romero Cotton because it isn't that guy you just read off, unfortunately, because it can't be. Yeah, I mean, if the odds are that much, it's got to be Romero Cotton because the wrestling he's fought recently, I don't get this. Why? There must be someone else that you could have got other than a guy that hasn't fought in 13 years. It makes no sense to me, and this is classic Bellator. So
yeah, it just seems like
there was a bunch of
Bellator doesn't
over in LFA and Cage Warriors and I don't know whatever over in Russia. That would go all right for a paycheck. Yeah, I'll come over and wrestle him or fight him or whatever.
And they find someone from 2009.
But I do want to say, yeah, like what?
That is ridiculous.
But what I do like about Cotton though is he's not just a grappler like that will grind you out over decisions. He looks for a finish. He's there to hurt you. He's got an aggressive streak in him. He's got a mean streak, you know. He looks for the finish, which I really appreciate because not some wrestlers just, you know, I call it the John Fitch. They John Fitch you. You know, Josh Koscheck did it a lot of times as well. He just used the wrestling to grab you and make a decision and try and get his career going like that. So Romero Cotton to me he's got that mean streak and he's just going to smash through whoever this ghost is in Freddie Sandoval.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't.
I wouldn't bet
this is
stay away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't bet a lot of minus 1200s. It just seems like a price that's not worth it. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna for a lot of this Bellator with how these odds are set up with the fighters who are set up with them. It's just gotta pass. For the most part, it will be in maybe a full parlay, but even then, that's it. Minus 1200, and it's gonna get steeper. Moving on to the next fight. This is, I believe, the featured. Is this the featured prelim? Yeah, it's
I think Palisi, isn't it?
No. There's one more after this. So this is the co-main, or it's a co-main event to the featured prelim. But return of the broken nose man himself, Derek Anderson, off of that devastating knockout against MVP in his last fight, where he was just his nose was smashed in. He did keep going, to his credit, but I mean, what a brutal strike there to put away Derek Anderson. Anybody who questions Derek Anderson's toughness is crazy. Taking on Gochi Yamaguchi, the 26-5 Bellator mainstay here. Still only 29 years old, which I find kind of shocking for the Brazilian. It's Brazilian / Japanese fighter. Gochi. Really just a solid all-around fighter, particularly his grappling, though, is definitely where the bread is buttered. 26-5, very solid record here for Gochi. Last fought in July of this past year with Bellator, got the win there to get back on the winning track after a little bit of a derailment of the momentum against Dan Moret. That was a fight that was very, very close. I personally did have Moret in that fight. So I do think they got the right side of the split decision there. Just, what Moret was really able to kind of go stride for stride with the grappling with Gochi, which was really impressive. On the feet, it was pretty razor close. So Moret edges it out there. The Chris Gonzalez fight looking very good, especially with how Gonzalez came back. Gonzalez was undefeated going into that fight, and Gochi, he put together when he can put together the striking with the grappling. He's one of the best guys in this division, and that's what he showed in that last fight. Caught him on the feet, finished him on the ground, got into a really good position. Before that, the submissions of Syed Awad and Darren Cruikshank, again, two primary strikers, did not mess with the striking, went to his strength, went to where he's better. That's what I think, he does in this fight. I mean, Derek Anderson is a very, very challenging opponent, 17-4. Obviously, got knocked out pretty badly in that stopped in the last fight, I'll say. He wasn't knocked out, went to the end of the first round, but obviously that nose was pretty handled. He did take nearly a year off, so I don't have a lot of questions really about that, as bad of an injury as that is. I do think Derek Anderson can take a shot. I don't think that necessarily is going to affect that. And while Gauthier does have some good stand-up, I think that Derek Anderson would be happy to be involved in a stand-up fight. You see the wins over guys like Julius Anglickas. He put him away in that fight. A really impressive finish there. So on the feet, I just think that Derek Anderson has all the tools to win this fight. I just think Gauthier is way too smart to keep it in that realm. I think he pushes the takedowns early and often. And I like Gauthier to get a pretty impressive and dominant decision win. It's hard for me to take Derek Anderson to get finished. I just think he's very tough and defensively pretty sound, even grappling-wise. But I do like Gauthier to get a pretty clear-cut decision, 30-27, possibly even, dominating more so. But I just think this matchup very much favors Yamaguchi.
So you personally think that if Derek keeps it standing, Derek that's obviously his biggest strength and his biggest chance to victory, but you think Gautier's not even going to entertain the striking in this one?
I would be really surprised if Gauthier isn't shooting within the first 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah. No, because,
Slash worried.
It's hard to argue with that, to be honest, because I think on my notes here, what I've got is Gautier's best weapon is his mind. His fight IQ is very high, which Derek Anderson, he is good. He's a very good mixed martial artist, but he does leave the door open a lot of times to get hit. He does leave the door open. He gets carried away. He lands a good strike. He steps forward, leaves the lead leg. Gautier's just going to pick up a single and drag him. And it's that easy.
I agree.
He never really has issues kind of getting takedowns. He's got very good wrestling.
No, Moret was able to scramble with them, which is not what Derek's going to be able to do also. I mean, Moret's game is also to grapple. Yeah, I think that Gautier's weakness in his losses have been fighters who are willing to grapple with him and can grapple with him. And I don't think Derek's going to be willing or can grapple with him. And at a minus 140 on a card where there isn't a lot of value, minus 140 on Gauthier is huge value. I love it. Single it away. Again, I don't think this is going to be close. I really don't.
Do you think Derek could hurt Gauthier with a shot, or you think Gauthier, even if he trades for 2 minutes before he even gets a takedown, if he struggles?
Yeah, I don't think Derek is that. I don't think Derek's that dangerous. I think Derek would need.
Yeah, he's more volume.
He's more. Yeah, which again, if the volume, if Gauthier has the Jorge Grigel syndrome where he forgets that he's a grappler and everything. I do think Derek can wear him down and get a second, third round finish. I don't see a first round finish. If it happens, it's for Gauthier on the ground, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's a good
so
point.
I think Gauthier can get a finish by submission or get a dominant decision. I think that Derek Anderson can win a knockout with a very bad game plan by Gauthier or win a decision if the takedown defense is at a 9. So, and I haven't seen that evidence yet.
Yeah, it all depends, doesn't it, on how good Derek is at scrambling, getting back to his feet. Because getting taken down isn't the issue; it's can he get back up? And again, there's not much evidence because there's not many people that have tried to take him down. To be honest, most people just stand and trade with him, which is
not the way you're going to win.
Fight.
And the other thing is Derek has fought at welterweight. So he's going to be much bigger. Yeah.
100%.
And so it's so these are all things that I like.
I did think the fight was closer than you were suggesting, but you've actually convinced me it's a lot further apart. And
I think that the odds think it is too.
I'll take it. You've convinced me. So.
All right, we'll see how that pays off. But minus 140
better than the time I convinced you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't have the best record sometimes convincing each other. But on to the featured prelim of the evening. The other guy from the picture with Darren Till and Sean Strickland that was kind of going around last week, or Cosmat and Darren Till. Sorry, not Cosmat and Sean Strickland that was going around. The guy in the middle, that was Alex Palisi. He was not tagged in any of the posts, but he is a Bellator grappler who was like in the middle of those two. The picture that was going around last week, it was Alex Palisi.
So Vegas sparring sessions. Yep.
And he talks quite a bit about how his move out to Vegas has really helped his whole career. Former Midwest grappler. Now he's out in Vegas training at Syndicate MMA, talking about how guys like Cosmot are dropping in for sessions, things like that, talking about how when he's getting ready for a fight, he goes to his doctor and is like, I need this blood work. I need these done. And they're like, oh, yeah, we have fighters coming here all the time. So these are kind of the advantages of moving to Vegas that aren't always spoken about. But it's a fighter's town. So everybody from the doctors to the nutritionists to, whatever, they're all used to fighters. So Alex has talked about that. I just thought that was interesting. Taking on Jose Augusto Azevedo. Last fought against a Rumble. Really had quite a good fight with Rumble, actually. Had a lot of success with the striking in that first round of Rumble's return. Honestly, I actually had Jose Augusto in that fight leading into it. I thought that the time off for Rumble was really going to cost him. The fact that Augusto, I thought, was a little more well-rounded of the two. But he decided to keep standing and trading with Rumble, and eventually you do that and you get caught. And Rumble caught him with an absolute clean shot, put him away pretty hard in that fight, and that was all there was for Jose Augusto. Moved him to 7-3. That was in May of last year, so he's been off for quite a bit of time since that vicious knockout. But out of the Pitbull brothers here, a very good fighter. He just doesn't have the highest level of experience, but he really did look pretty comfortable in there with Anthony Rumble Johnson in that fight. He was really landing a lot of solid leg kicks, a lot of strikes, put Rumble in a lot of trouble, nearly put him away in that first round. And then not sure exactly what happened, but started to have some trouble. When it went down for Jose, it went down really quickly. So some questions here about the overall ability to put together 15 minutes, the gas tank and everything. We didn't see the takedown defense against Rumble. So that's the other thing with Alex Palisi. He's 9-1. He's going to go in, look to grapple, and grapple some more. He is not the biggest of 205ers. That is one thing. That is definitely one thing I notice. I personally think he could make 185 at some point in his career, but at 205, he's got to rely on a lot more kind of speed to set up the takedowns and everything. Gustavo Trujillo was a really impressive fight there, though. I really like that fight. Gustavo got him in some trouble. Alex goes to the body lock, got him taken down, got the finish. Last fight was against another very good prospect in Grant Neal. They fought very closely, and Palisi showed that the stand-up is really improving with Syndicate. Obviously, he's going to struggle in fights where he doesn't get the takedowns. We saw with Julius Anglickas that exact scenario play out where Anglickas was just able to be a better defensive wrestler on the feet, quite an advantage. If Jose can stop the takedowns, Jose's got a really good chance on the feet in this fight. I really think that he really did impress me against Anthony Rumble Johnson. We haven't gotten to see him since then, but I think on the feet,
Palisi coming off the layoff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we got to see another fight with Rumble after that. It does seem that he's back for the most part. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one. So I'm gonna go with Palisi, but it's one I'm a little bit nervous about. To be honest, it's one that I could see Palisi having a lot of problems getting him down with the size and everything, and on the feet, Jose is very, very good. But I'm going to go with Palisi in this spot. I do think that he's going to be able to get the wrestling going, and his stand-up is going to be good enough. But a little bit nervous in this one. I do think Jose is a decent level of opponent. I did like the Grant Neal fight as an indicator of kind of the direction Palisi's going with his game, though. So I like Palisi in this spot, and I'm just going to plug my phone in real quick, but go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm a little easier, to be honest, with betting Alex Palisi. I have Palisi in this one as well. I think even if he cannot cement Jose down, he's at least going to give him the looks and the tells of, I'm looking to take you down, which will open the striking up. If you mix it up, the hands open up. And Jose's not the greatest striker. He's a good striker in my head. Alex Palisi is he's a wrestler that likes to set up the shots. He's got very basic boxing, doesn't use the kicks all that much. If he can't get the takedown, it might be a long night, but I think at least him chasing the takedown is going to open up the hands. It's going to open up the flurries. He might actually catch Jose, to be honest with you. I've got Palisi a bit easier. I think I'm a bit more confident than you are with him. I think he is legit. I think the Anglickas fight was a good learning curve for him as well, to be honest, because when he kind of meets his match in a stalemate, Anglickas is just slightly better. He does exactly the same as Palisi. He's just better at it. And that's all that was. I think Palisi's got the right style to kind of get far in this division. He's still, they've both got 10 fights. They're still green in a sense. So I'm a bit more confident. I think the wrestling can open the hands up of Jose. I think Palisi will shock you with some of his boxing if he actually decides to go that route. But the smart option is obviously wear him down, take him down. I've got him by decision. I've got Palisi by decision, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just getting the odds back on my phone died, so that's where my odds were. But just going to grab those back up here. But yeah, Gochi, as I said, minus 140 in the last fight, and then Alex Palisi minus 160, plus 130 on Jose. So the odds are giving Jose some respect here. And yeah, I mean, I get it. I just, what happens if that wrestling isn't there? I actually like Jose to possibly get a finish, honestly, because on the feet, I think, he was putting Rumble into some pretty bad situations, and unless Rumble had that kind of cross that changed the tide, I don't see that strike for Palisi, but I am going to go with Palisi here. Minus 160 is a good price here.
The only difference I'll say is stylistically with Rumble's a very static striker. He's like very, very shaky, very shaky, very shaky, very shaky. But he's on one spot. He doesn't move. He's not laterally moving. He's not darting in and out. So he's very hittable as well, Rumble. Whereas Palisi's just don't stop moving. He's got
but sometimes Palisi does get a little bit staggered when he starts to struggle with those takedowns. He kind of freezes a little bit. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's an interesting fight. I do understand why the odds are where they're at. I think they're pretty solid here. But yeah, I would be willing to bet Alex with what I said, based on what I said. Still, I know it sounds a little unsure, but I do think 160. Yeah, I think that's a decent spot there. So I do like Palisi. Moving on to the main card. This is a really good main card, top to bottom. Sometimes I can't always say that about Bellator, but really good lightweight bout here. And I say lightweight because J.J. Wilson's days of missing featherweight are over. I think he missed weight 3-4 times, including his last fight. Missed weight by 1.5 pounds. He did come back to finish Pedro Carvalho, but still missed weight. He's missed weight a lot. And the Mowgli kid, he's got to move up now, taking on a guy in Gadzi Rabanamov, who was kind of thinking about going down to featherweight, did a catch weight in his last fight. I'm not sure what information he got, but seemed to say, let's go back to lightweight. Doing pretty good there anyways. And, again, 10 pounds from 155 to 145 is no small task. So we got Russia versus New Zealand here. Gadzi Rabandanov. I always want to mix up the B and the D. 16-4-2 for Gadzi. Brother Loic as well from PFL. So this is probably one of the better MMA brothers in all of MMA, these two. But Gadzi looked pretty much like a killer. 28 years old in his last two. In July 31st of last year, got a win with Bellator to move his win streak 2-2. Mami Shev team is where he's out of. He got the win over Daniel Carey. Just counter hook, put him down, and ground and pound. Looked really, really good in that fight. Was supposed to take on Alexander Belkiv back at 269. That fight just kind of fizzled out. Not really sure what happened there, but yeah, I mean, he's very well-rounded. He's faced a good level of competition over. He had one fight with PFL, but mostly with Fight Night Global and GFC. Went over Steven Seiler back in 2019. Always kind of, and that was a fight. He just dominated that decision. It wasn't very close. Good striker. Definitely where he prefers the fights. That does have a good, decent grappling game as well. Not a lot of names that I know on the record. I will say that. He even has a win over his brother in his amateur career, so that's kind of hardcore. Fought Loic back as an amateur and armbarred him. So, and Loic's really good. So, Godzi's just he's so solid everywhere. He's puts a lot of pressure on with his cage control and kind of getting his opponent to the back before he starts to strike here. JJ Wilson making his debut at lightweight here. He definitely has a size, still very young. He looks so good at featherweight. It's too bad he couldn't quite figure it out there. But 8-0 now. Had some adversity against Pedro Carvalho in that first round. But really did kind of just take over. The striking has gotten better and better. The thing with Pedro is that he doesn't have the best. I don't even want to say chin. I almost want to say skull, because it looks like when Pedro gets rocked, it looks like his brain is getting rocked, not his chin. So I mean, it was a really impressive performance. Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly. JJ missed weight against Borics back in August, and then Alfie Davis had to withdraw from that. He's just not a 145er. The grappling was what he, really got him to the dance early on. The stand-ups come with it. This is a really, really, great fight. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about both these guys. I think this is a pretty tough first fight at 155 for JJ. I just think that Godzi's a little more composed, a little more technical, able to control where this fight takes place at. I just think JJ is going to have to pull off something spectacular to win this fight. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at Godzi decision, I think. So I'm going to take Godzi here. I don't have the guts to take JJ. I think JJ to win is going to need something spectacular, which he's shown over and over again in his career he can do. So I'm not counting him out at all, but I just don't have the guts. I don't have the balls. I'm going with Godzi.
Yeah, I think you could see a really, really impressive first round opening for JJ, and then suddenly it hits round two, and Godzi can kind of take over. I am picking JJ in this one. I think he has that X factor.
Nice.
I think cutting all that weight and not making the weight is even more damaging, because you're trying so hard to push your body to that limit you just cannot go to. This is a healthier weight for him to fight at. He's going to be so much more hydrated, so much more switched on. Those last 2 weeks in camp, he's not going to be getting tired and not so with it. You hit all of these things. I think it's going to suit him a lot better. Godzi is a beast, an absolute beast. Yeah. JJ is very good. It's a proper test. If he beats Godzi, JJ is the real deal to me, because I rate Godzi very highly. I think you do as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
I think Godzi over the distance is probably a safe bet. I just think JJ has that killer in him, and I think if he's got superb neck attacks, and he's got very crisp striking. So I think he's just.
I just wish I could have saw one. Yeah, I respect the pick. Minus 160 on Godzi, plus 130 on JJ. The fact that Godzi's only minus 160 lets you know how highly they think of JJ. That's pretty impressive, considering Godzi was well over 4-1 favorite in his debut. And the Rabadonov name is a pretty valuable one in MMA right now. So, this is a huge test. I would have loved to see at least one fight for JJ prior to this at 155, just so I could see how he handled the physicality of everything. But I also think it's a good indication when he's confident to take a fight against a guy like this with that undefeated record. So, really great way to open up the card. I think this is probably my fight of the night, based on what I've seen. And I love the shot at plus 130 on JJ Wilson. Completely. Many says it best. JJ is a beast. And if he wins this, he's even more of a beast than I realized. So, Really, really good fight to start out the main card there. Super pumped for that one. And again, my fight of the night. Honestly, the whole main card I'm excited about. I'm really excited about this next fight too. This one at middleweight between the rising Diamond Hands Johnny Eblin taking on John Salters here. What a matchup here. Talk about thinking highly of Eblin. We're going to really find out how good he is after this fight because he's taking on a guy at middleweight who is father time catching up to John Salter. He's almost 37 years old. He's been in a lot of wars with a lot of very good opponents, but still 18-5. And we'll just go through the resume here because his 5 losses are to legit opponents. He doesn't lose to guys he's quote unquote not supposed to lose to. 36, nearly 37 years old out of Jimmo. And, that's a gym that's kind of had a lot of hits lately. A lot of their fighters have gone to other gyms. So I'm not sure if he's still there exclusively or if he's working around. I'd be curious. But coming off of a couple of losses in grappling, he went to the ADCC North American trials, though. So no shame there. Going up against really good fighters and losing a couple of decisions there. Last fought MMA in August of last year. Got ground and pounded in the 3rd round by Gegard Mousasi. Saw how Mousasi looked in that last fight out against Vanderford. Mousasi is very much the rumors of Mousasi's demise have been falsified. Very much so. So no real shame there. MMA locker room, what's good? How you doing? Glad you can make it. But yeah, before that, the Andrew Koppel fight, the Costello Van Steenis fight, and the Chidi Ninja Kawani fight, those are all really legitimate opponents and just completely took away the strengths of those opponents in those fights. The thing with those 3 is they did not have the wrestling that Johnny Eblin has. Johnny Eblin, while he's called Diamond Hands, his first strength is his wrestling. That's the thing. These losses, again, he gets finished in these losses, but Gegard Mousasi, Rafael Lovato Jr., back at the height of Lovato Jr.'s powers, Reggie Pena, don't know who that is, but that was in 2012. Again,
anything pre Lovato Jr. kind of scrub off.
But still, like Dan Miller and Gerald Harris, not bad fighters to lose to at all at the times he lost to him, especially Gerald Harris. He really was 10, 15 years ago. And Dan, and then Dan, Miller. They can't all be golden. But, either way, in all seriousness, Johnny Eblin, he really seems to be on the rise to me, 10-0. Has half the amount of experience of John Salter. That could be a real difference in this fight. John Salter has been in there with the best of the best. Obviously ATT for Johnny Eblin, Diamond Hands here, 13 straight wins. Fought with Bellator back in December. He beat my boy Taylor Johnson at one point. We know how highly I rate Mr. Taylor Johnson. Colin Huckbody, the last time out. I mean, Huckbody was a giant underdog, and for a good reason. Johnny has just passed every test in front of him so far. This is a huge, huge step up, though, for me in John Salter. And, but that being said, I think Eblin's up for it. I think that he's got a huge advantage on the feet. I think grappling-wise, he can even dominate in the wrestling there as well. For Salter, he has to dominate the wrestling and has to dominate it for 15 minutes or at least 10 of those minutes to win. Because of those reasons, it's hard for me to find the route for Salter to win this fight. Really, I give experience to Salter. I give level of competition to Salter, and that's about it. I think that, for the most part, this is Diamond Hands' showcase fight here to really show how good he is. This is such a step up from Huckbody. Those are my concerns. And then I see the price, and I think it's a little bit steep. But with all that being said, I like Johnny Eblin in this fight, and I like Johnny Eblin too. For the most part, Salter, the way he fights, he gets finished or wins. And so I do think that Eblin ends up putting him in some positions, ends up ending him with the strikes. I think Eblin gets the KO. I think it happens somewhere, I'm not sure where it happens in the fight, but I see Eblin being able to put together the combination he needs, tiring out Salter and taking this one. So I like Johnny Eblin. The price is a little bit concerning for me, at minus 350 for Johnny, plus 260 for Salter. I think that's a little bit too much, but I am going to go with Johnny Eblin.
Yeah, Johnny Eblin, I've written the comparison down that I actually think he's much like a Sean Brady at this point. You don't know how quite good he is until he gets that one fight. Like Sean Brady beat like Court McGee, and it was like Aguilera, and then Jake Matthews, and you're like, okay, yeah, he's good, but is he that level? And then he fought Chiesa and dominated him in his own game. You're like, okay, Sean Brady's a legit guy. I think this is that fight for Johnny Eblin now. John Salter, what I always worry about with the older guys that have taken the L's and have, the amount of camps he's done at this age as well, is the chin. Power gets these guys out of there quick. And he's very much like Chad power. Mendes. Yeah, he's like a Chad Mendes, and he flurries heavy hands, and the wrestling's always there. So if he hurts him, he can just shove him on the mat and keep the ground and pound reigning. Cardio's not been an issue, and I think he's the real deal. I think the competition he's faced isn't awful. I think it's Bellator level, which is, it says itself. I think this is a good test for him. I think the pricing shouldn't be that different, to be honest. I think it should be a pick'em because of John Salter's career. And he's clearly still got it at that age, but I just worry about the power. The power is something freaky for the weight class. So, he's just got it for me, Johnny Eblin. I'm backing him as well. Yeah. And I hate to say that because I'm backing all the guys that seem undefeated at the moment. So, but
I mean, this is a card that there's not a lot of dogs that I'm backing so far on this card, looking top to bottom. So, as a matter of fact, I think I am yet to pick an underdog on this card, which is very rare for me. But I got to pick them based on where they're at. I think a lot of these close favorites, could be some value. But Eblin minus 350. It's tempting. I can understand people putting down a wager on Salter. I'll say that. Plus 260, I don't think it's a bad bet at all, even with what we've said here. But yeah, I'm going with Eblin there. Regardless, value is only value when it's successful. If it's not successful, it's not valuable. So I know that seems obvious, but it's like, I'm not just going to bet Salter at plus 260 because he shouldn't be at plus 260. I think that, Eblin, this is his Kyle Brady Chiesa moment. I really like that comparison. I think that's pretty spot on. We're on to the main or co-main event, I should say. And Devin, thank you for joining the breakdown. I haven't seen you here before, but glad you can make it. Always got we got the LFA tomorrow, we got the UFC tomorrow, and PFL on Thursday as well. So all here for your breakdown needs. But next fight, Eblin by decision prop. I like Eblin to get the KO personally. I like the KO prop. So decision, I think you should just bet the decision overall. Just bet the over then, just in case Salter can eke it out in that case. But Eblin by decision maybe, but I like the KO if I'm going with a prop, BJ. And many appreciate it. This is I always make this clear. I'll make it clear tomorrow with the UFC. This is a Jillian Robertson podcast, and I'll make it clear here in a minute. I'm just going to have you go ahead and tee this one up. I have to drop a dog off. You know how it is. I'll put you on to Julius, and then I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries, man.
All right, appreciate it.
No worries at all. Right, I have done a breakdown, so I apologize if I do repeat stuff on my channel for this one. I'll start with Phil as well. I know he's put me on Julius, but I'm going to start with Phil because I just know it all off the top of my head anyway. But Phil Davis, to me, is one of those guys that he's the next best. In the UFC, he's much like a Ryan Bader. He was always the guy that's not quite the champion. He's the next best thing. He's the gatekeeper to get you that title shot. And he hasn't really changed, to be honest, since coming into Bellator, because he went on absolute great runs. He beat, Muhammad Law, King Mo, obviously, Liam McGreary, Linton Vassell lately, Lyoto Machidas. But even those wins, the Lyoto Machida win was very questionable He didn't look great in it. Losing only to the best guys, though. Losing to Nemkov twice. The first one by split, disagree. It should have been a split. Should have just been, Mr. Wonderful DJ, man. He really is, because he's just still got it. He's an absolute killer. He doesn't rely on the wrestling that much, but he has absolutely beautiful burst of speed. That's what he does. He's an absolute blitz unit. Comes in with the overhand right, darts in much like a karate fighter, but without the stance. If he's got the distance, he gets the red. So you've got the red zone in the middle, and you've got the green zone right in front of their face, or right, super far away. He's never in the red zone. He's always here, and then he darts so fast in, hits you with the overhand right. If he hurts you, he grabs the double leg, he powers you to the fence, he gets you on the floor, and he absolutely dominates you. And you saw it against Carl Atkinson, where he gets him in such an uncomfortable position. Dagestani handcuffs him and just smashes him with one hand. And he really shows. That's right, man. And he shows the difference between the experience he's got, the skills he's got, still technique, and still able way to grind these guys out. The Yoel Romero fight, again, he's got a lot of split decisions that shouldn't be split decisions. I thought the Lyoto Machida, he was the winner, but it was questionable. But the Yoel Romero fight, he clearly won that fight. Against someone like Julius, this is the issue for me with Julius, is I'm not sure if Julius has reached his ceiling yet or not. Phil Davis is only losing to the very best guys, and he was competitive with Nemkov. Anglickas, other than one right hand in the first round, was washed. And I know you've got a relationship with Anglickas. You really like him, and you backed him in that fight, I think, as well. You thought he could pull off the upset.
I did. Had my one moment.
And at the start, I'm pretty sure you were cheering as well when he landed that shot. But what you saw over 4 rounds is he had nothing. And he's a good wrestler. Nemkov held him down no problem. And I think that Phil Davis is going to have a very similar approach to Nemkov, and I think he's going to do the same thing. He's not going to entertain the striking, even though I think he's a better striker. I think he's not going to throw the jab out. He's not going to control distance. None of that. I think you're going to see classic Phil Davis, where he's going to power leg him, hold him down, handcuff him, and much like Carl Albrechtsen, that I think it's going to be a similar fight to that. And because it's not a main event, I don't see a finish. If this was 5 rounds, I could see a late 4-5 finish. But I do think Phil Davis is going to eke him out. I think this is one step too far again for Anglickas. I think he's just not there. From what I've seen, I just don't, unless he's just suddenly turned a page and he looks like a new human going in there. I just didn't see any form of resistance against Nemkov other than just survive. And I hope that's not the case, because I want Julius to win this, because he's the next gen coming through. Like, Phil Davis I love him to bits, but he's had his day. I'd like to see Julius win this, but I don't see where he beats him unless he, unless he can kind of put the pressure and wear Phil down. Phil's gas tank isn't as good as it used to be. That's the only thing I could think, but it's more than good enough still for 3 rounds. It's just not good enough for 5 in my head. But that's my view anyway, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make it a secret. Julius Anglickas channel here. I'm a huge supporter of the guy. I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick him here. And I do think that one of the big differences from the Nemkov fight is, first of all, Phil Davis ain't Vladimir Nemkov. But obviously, the other difference is that Nemkov fight was on extremely short notice.
It was.
And I do think that that's one of those fights. While we talked about Palisi, how after the Anglickas fight, Anglickas let Palisi know how far away he was from being where he thought he was or needed to be. I'm wondering what the response is from Anglickas to the Nemkov fight. I don't see the shaking and the confidence here. I see him more taking the effective lessons from there. Game playing for Phil Davis in 2022 is very, very easy at this point. So, I mean, he really is not mixing it up much. And I get he has a couple of these splits that I don't think were splits, but it is in part kind of how he carries himself in fights that's causing these judges, I think, to view these fights in that way. For me, the key with Anglickas is the offensive output. He is too much of a defensive-oriented fighter, and I think he was way too much heavy on the defense against Nemkov. It was almost like he was terrified of being finished in that fight instead of worried about losing the fight. I don't know what was going on there, but either way, I don't think he can just deal with avoidance, and I don't think he's I think he's going to feel more free to unleash the strikes on the feet in this one. I do think the volume is going to be key in the takedown defense. I think he's going to improve those. I think he's coming in with a good game plan. I am a huge Julius Anglickas fan, and I feel this is a great opportunity for him in all seriousness to really put himself as one of these guys in the division that's not a title contender, but just short of it, perhaps. I'm taking Julius here, plus 260, minus 350 on Phil Davis. This is my first official dog of the night. I think that Julius Anglickas, if he catches Mr. Wonderful with that same shot that Nemkov got caught with, he wins.
He will finish him.
Davis is not going to. Yeah, he will finish him, and I think he's going to feel more comfort to engage in the stand-up here. With the reason it's hard for Anglickas to know how good he is because the level of competition he's faced in Bellator besides that fight with Nemkov is not very high. Gregory Milliard, terrible. Like Alex Palisi, that was impressive, but I don't think that Phil Davis will have the same patterns of inactivity that Palisi had that allowed Anglickas to just focus on the defense and win. So the offense has to be at a new high for Anglickas. So in a way, I'm breaking a trend with how I'm picking Anglickas to win here. But I think on the feet, he's got a significant edge, and I do think he knows how to win this fight. That being said, Phil Davis is one of the best wrestlers in this division still at 37 years old and definitely can take him down. And this being 3 rounds, huge advantage for Phil Davis.
He took Nemkov down, no problem, man. No problem.
Yeah, exactly. So, for me, I'm hoping that the stand-up's the difference here. I'm hoping that the offensive outputs increase for Anglickas. And Anglickas, who throws a lot of volume, could be really hard to deal with. We haven't seen
if this was a main event, and I knew for sure that Anglickas would throw more volume because I just feel like he's a deer in the headlights sometimes, or he admires a shot he just threw. He's not also willing to stand and take one to give one, which Phil Davis definitely is. Does it his whole career because he knows he lands heavy. I would back Anglickas even without those factors just over 5 rounds. I think that's the key as well. If he can really push the pace, tire Phil out, maybe work the body. He's got a great left body kick, Anglickas. I think chop that lead leg down, make it so, that the wrestling isn't an option for Phil. Because he's gonna get him. If he goes for a double leg and Anglickas defends one, brilliant, well done. Phil will be back for another one, and he's great at chain wrestling because he gets you on the cage and he takes away your wrists. He grabs the hands. So I would love Anglickas to win. I really would, but I got to back Phil Davis.
I get it. I couldn't go the whole card. I couldn't just pick the favorites the whole card. If I'm going to pick a dog, it's going to be Julius Anglickas. So take all that
to be honest with you.
Yeah, plus 260 on Anglickas. Take that with a grain of salt. But I would, even if I wasn't a friend of Julius's, I would be saying dog or pass at minimum. And I honestly do think that Julius is going to learn a lot. And visceral, I get it. That's what I'm here to do, man. I am not a Phil Davis fan. I'm not a Phil Davis believer. So take all of that into account when taking my advice on this fight. If you're rocking with Julius, I don't want to hear about it in the comments because Julius is my boy. I picked him in every Bellator fight, and I'm probably not going to stop. So that being said, if I'm separating my bias, I still really believe he has a very good chance, and at plus 260, way better of a chance than the odds are saying. And that is regardless of how I feel about him. So I'm not
a massive fan as well, and I'll tell you, I agree with you.
Yeah. So exactly. Like Julius is my boy. I'm going to pick him every time, just like I'm going to pick Jillian every time. But I also really do feel he has a good shot here. I think this is a really good co-main event, and maybe that's because I'm a little bit personally invested. But the Lithuanian Terminator Julius Anglickas is my first official dog of the night at plus 260. Let's go, Julius. Lithuanian Terminator. My nickname and only my nickname for him. For some reason, no one else wants to call him that, but I think the dude is just terrifying, but also an absolutely awesome individual. Speaking of awesome, we're to the main event here. we've been talking about Mads Burrell a few times throughout this podcast, so we'll say right off the bat, both me and Lewis were fans of Mads Burrell, big fans. But for good reason.
When I met him.
And I haven't met him, but I'm sure he would love me too. Taking on Adam Borics here. This is at 145 pounds. It is 5 rounds. Bellator has started doing 5-round main events. Thank you, Christ. Good Lord. I don't know why, if you're a major organization, you wouldn't. But Denmark versus Hungary here. A lot of European bad blood in this one. When I was listening to Mads Burnell talk about this matchup with Adam Borics, he's just like, Adam Borics is a very European stand-up fighter. He fights just like Vitaly Klitschko. He just kept saying Vitaly Klitschko, and I was like, I don't exactly see that. Yeah. He's like a very European fighter. Mads Burnell does not appear to rate Adam Borics very highly. He thinks that these highlight finishes are happening against very low levels of competition, which they are, other than the Aaron Pico fight, which he was losing that Aaron Pico fight quite handily till he landed that knee. That is the thing that stood out for me when I was not looking at tape, but looking at the interviews with Mads, is that he's coming into this fight, and in Mads' view, there are such levels to this game, and Mads feels he has significant levels above Adam Borics. And I don't exactly disagree with him either. Had some really good moments with Arnold Allen back in the day in their fight there was just something about Mads' run in the UFC. It was just didn't work. It wasn't right. Yeah, it was 3. What was it? 3 fights, and he went 2. Yeah, he went 1 and 2. Lost to a juice head in Prozeris and Arnold Allen. So no shame there.
I will say Arnold Allen was ridiculously sick that entire week that he fought, but Mads was beating him up for 3 rounds. He was
exactly,
he got front choked. But.
Yeah, he got front choked. The Mike Santiago fight. Just overall in the UFC, he didn't get his footing. It was just plain and simple. I don't think it's the worst thing that he got cut. With Cage Warriors, obviously, got right back on track. Had some solid finishes. The Japanese necktie of Dean Truman, obviously, one of those fights. He had 2 Japanese neckties. That's right. And that with Cage Warriors. Beat Steve Amiable, a very good opponent there. Looked great in Bellator. Out-grappled Saul Rogers before finishing him. Emmanuel Sanchez last time out showed the full game there. Emmanuel Sanchez, not exactly the most amazing of wins, but still a guy that if you're not on your P's and Q's, he's going to beat you by decision just about every time. With this fight, Borics, I don't see a lot of routes to victory for him against Mads. It's clearly you got to keep it on the feet here. Don't grapple with Mads at all, because if you do, Mads is going to take over. Mads is going to take over, and in this fight, I do like Mads to work the grappling eventually. And my question is, over 5 rounds, I think that he can end up getting Borics in the submission. I personally think that Mads is got quite a few significant advantages in this fight. And Borics needs to kind of break his trend and fight very differently in this fight in order to really have a good shot. I think that, he's got the power. He can finish anybody, but it's going to have to be a stand-up volume type of affair with a lot of movement and distance for Borics here. I think that's where he's got to take advantage of this fight. I do see a scenario where he does that. That being said, I think Mads Burnell gets him. I think he gets a hold of him. I think he gets him down and overwhelms him on the ground. I do think Mads is a very good parlay piece, and I also like Mads by submission. If I had to go specifically, so I see many saying decision. That's fine. I like Mads in the spot to get the finish. Actually, I think that he gets a choke finish. Matt, and he's got 5 rounds here. I do think that Borics is going to slow down as this fight goes. I think he cuts a lot of weight to get to 145. I think Mads is the more natural 145er as well. And Mads just really screaming a lot of confidence with how he's fighting right now. And I just don't see Borics slowing him down. I think Mads gets the submission. I like Mads at -225 as a parlay piece as well. To answer Visceral's question, I like Mads Burnell in this spot quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Mads to me he would be ranked 5 or 6 in the UFC right now to me. I can't think of any 145ers other than Ortega with a slick grappling as him, but he has a different style of grappling.
Right.
Mads Burnell will slice through Borics' guard like butter, man. He is going to run through him if he goes to the mat. He is the greatest featherweight like jiu-jitsu guy I've seen live as well. Unbelievably like clinical to watch him live. Technically, he's so fast. Moves like Mighty Mouse. He's got great hands because he learned how to use his hands to set up that single leg. Drags you down.
Yep.
He doesn't mind landing in half guard because he'll get into side control real quick. He'll take you back. He loves a dart. He's great neck attacks. Wins like Steve Aimable, Dean Truman. Dean Truman was a champion. You know, you got Darko Banovic in first one in Bellator. You got to beat who you can beat, who you get. Ragdolled Saul Rogers. Saul is a phenomenal grappler. Phenomenal. Ragdolled him.
Yeah.
No problem. Choked him out. It was... Mads is another level. Borics is... Okay, he's very good. But I agree with Mads. He's very readable. The competition he's faced is way beneath Mads. Way beneath.
Yes.
Mads should never have left the UFC to me. He is fun. I'm such a fan of him. I will never ever bet against Mads Burnell. The greatest win on Borics' record is Aaron Pico when he was losing the fight until he,
lost the first 2 rounds. Clear.
I don't want to say got lucky because it wasn't lucky.
No.
He meant the shot. But Jeremy Kennedy's a good win as well. But again, another padded record. Mads isn't padded at all. Like at all. It's a legit record with some very good fighters. If you haven't heard of the fighters, look them up. As you say, Prazara's in the UFC, all the juice. Mike Santiago is a great win just to get him back on track. Arnold Allen, he was dominating him. Why they cut him after that, I have no idea. Because for European market, Mads is very well known. Came over to Cage Warriors and ragdolled all the top guys in the division and was like, right, I'm off.
He got punished for having a hyped up resume coming in, basically.
It's mental, isn't it? So, and what has he done since? He hasn't bloody lost.
Japanese neckties all over the place. Apparently, the UFC had too many Japanese neckties. They're like, "Yep, we already got enough of these."
Super active, Since 2018, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's about to have his 8th fight, and he's finished all but 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think -220
ground and pound Japanese necktie. So
yeah, I love the -225 as a parlayable piece too. I think
I love the confidence he's bringing into the fight. I love that he knows he's better.
Yeah, I'll say it first of all. And that'll do it for that'll do it for the main card. And just real quick, we don't really have to do quick picks. I have 11 to 12 favorites. My underdog is Julius Anglickas.
Okay.
So with regards to this card, I do think there's a lot of spots to parlay it up. You can do some double up parlays. I like a Palisi Gochi Yamaguchi parlay to double up to good plus money. Add in Mads to that one, and that's going to be plus 300, plus 400 right there for those 3. So I like that. I think this is a very good card, but I do think this is a little more of a cut and dry Bellator card. I don't often pick 11 out of 12 favorites, but I'm picking based on the matchups I have here. So it is what it is. I think you have 2 underdogs. You got the JJ Wilson underdog and Ashley Dean. So props to
the
you.
Ashley Dean one's a bit of a punt, but yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's a business decision there. But yeah, again, people, we got 15 people watching right now. We've had up 20 today. I really appreciate everybody stopping by. I'll give the little, YouTube saying, subscribe and like. It really does help. I'm really appreciate the subscribers. We've been slowly building the channel. This has been an organic channel from the beginning. I'm just trying to bring in people who really know what they're talking about. For LFAs, always with Lucky Locks, best in the regional game. Bellators and Cage Warriors, always with my boy Lewis, as well as the UFC breakdowns. I love my UFC breakdowns. Those are everywhere, and I love to do those, but there's not another channel that's going to have the LFA. There's not another channel that's going to have Cage Warriors. There's not another channel that's going to have Bellator, PFL Challenger Series, and we're getting results. Last week, 25 of 29 MMA picks on this channel. 25 of 29. So, DJ, Yeah, there we go. Absolutely. And go subscribe to Norton MMA. Check out the Dan Hardy breakdown. Leave a comment there. You can say Aaron the Dog. I don't care what you put. Just leave a comment, leave a like, and check out that video. He's always doing those every week. He's got great matchups over there. Norton MMA on YouTube. And we will be back tomorrow with double breakdown day, UFC breakdown with Josh Breezy as well as Lewis. And immediately following that, my LFA 120 whatever LFA Brazil breakdown with Lucky Locks. We've got Brazilian Conor McGregor making his return in the main event, as well as a few other really good fights taking place down there. So that's all tomorrow, and then Thursday PFL Challenger Series. But for Aaron the Dog, for Lewis of Norton MMA, we are out. Thank you so much to everybody who checked out the breakdown. Keep taking care of each other out there, and until next time, peace out.